It's nice to see some things coming out in the news um, about F and Rachel Wood that are not in a great light because they're showing her in the true light that she deserves to be shown in. And I love how she tried to get ahead of the game by pushing out this information that she had to give up custody of her son because of Marilyn Manson. It's like, no, you lost custody of your son because you're a psycho hose beast. Evan Rachel Hood. Evan Rachel Hood rat. Um, sorry, it's just nice because like seeing that Manson was losing the ability to use her forged FBI letter as evidence in his case, like they were dropping that from the case. It was really upsetting, especially because her and Elma forged a letter from an FBI agent. They used a real agent's name. And the fact that she filed that in her custody case is really disturbing because she was trying to use the whole Me Too thing as a ploy to get custody of her son. Um, so, could that be the real reason behind why she's um, named Manson as her accuser? Which, no, or not accuser, her abuser. He's not an abuser. I think she just knew he was an easy target, and she saw what he went through just when they were dating, and she saw probably what he went through her whole life in the media, and how people were so quick to turn on him and so quick to even when they were in a relationship, when in interviews when it would come up that they were dating, you know, she would be like, "No, I'm the one that's wild in bed, and he's the vanilla one." You know, like she would be so quick to fix that stuff, and it turns out probably was the truth. She probably was the freak, but she's also a psycho, and he adored her, like adored her. I remember listening to the radio when he was in town, back when they were dating, and every other word out of his mouth was about Evan, like just gloating about how happy he was and how amazing she was, and he literally admired and adored her so much, and for her to throw that in his face by making him this bad guy in whatever crazy crap she's trying to do, it's disgusting. I mean, most girls would kill to have someone love a guy love them that much, and to to get so close to somebody and have them turn on you like that, that's gotta be so painful. I can't even imagine how he feels um, on so many levels with this whole thing. And you know, when they first started dating, I tried to like support him and be like okay with it, but I couldn't get past like the only thing I had known her from at that time was she was in the movie Practical Magic, and that was my only frame of reference for her, and it was of her as a little kid, as Sandra Bullock's daughter in that movie, and so I couldn't get her being a kid out of my head, even though she was a legal adult when they were dating. But it just weirded me out because to me she was a child, and then I saw pictures of her and him together. I'm like, oh, okay, it was totally different than what I picture her in my head. But something about her even back then, I tried so many different ways to like her. Something about her rubbed me the wrong way back then, and I think it's because like inside, I could see the light that she truly had, not blazing from her, as this awesome angel mercy. You know, I feel like she's been trying to throw it in his face all along that she knows what she's doing, and that she tried to like rub little hints in his face that were from when they were dating. Like if you go back, you can look through some of the old like the man. I think it's the Manson files. I think that's the website, and they have like old interviews and stuff on there. And I remember reading these interviews when they came out because from the time Manson hit mainstream, I used to buy every single magazine where there was a tiny little picture of him on the cover, so I could have posters of him all over my room. My whole room was completely covered, floor to ceiling, in Manson pictures. Um, and so I read everything. um, and she in one interview, she would be interjecting all throughout the interview. They're talking to Manson, and she'd pipe up and say something. There's a few of those online where if you go back to the old things, she's saying stuff. And there was one interview where she had been in and out of it the whole time, and um, Manson was talking about how he felt like he was going through a redemption arc, because the media has always been quick to villainize him for everything. That's why he had an album called Born Villain, because that's what they do with him. They make him into a villain and everything, and he was embracing that and using it as part of his character, part of his shtick, you know. Um, but people started to embrace him when he did Bowling for Columbine, and um, saw what he said, like, oh, I wouldn't. What would you say to those kids? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I wouldn't say anything to them. I'd listen to them. And like, I think that just floored so many people. They didn't know. People just thought he was whatever they made up in their head or whatever the media was telling them. So they were surprised to see that he was an intelligent, smart man with a big heart. And I've been trying forever to tell people that. Like, even in the 90s in high school, I would do reports on him in class and explain which stuff was rumor, and all the stuff that was wrong about him that people had been saying. And it just was so annoying all the time. I was constantly defending the guy. I still am. In the interview with Evan interjecting in it, he was saying how he felt like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And I think that Evan held on to that little nugget in her head, and to throw it in his face, to be like, see, look, she had that movie called Phoenix Rising, where she's telling all of her lies and BS, and all the people that she's recruited to sell her lie, and that she's got to jump on board and continue the hoax to sell that. But I feel like she was trying to use that in his face, like, I'm the Phoenix, not you. Like, be like, hey, look, I remembered this from your interview, and I just wanted you to know. I just feel like that was just another little stab at him. And it's so, it's just infuriating to me. It's like unbelievable, like the lengths that she's gone, and like, it even sucks that like she was on some of the daytime talk shows, and then I haven't watched the interview with her on Drew Barrymore, because I've always liked Drew Barrymore, and from what I've heard, it might make me not like Drew Barrymore. It would probably really upset me from what I've heard about it, and the way she was acting towards Evan. And I can understand her wanting to support someone because she had a tough childhood, but I think she should have waited until there was some actual evidence and looked into it, and not labeled Manson as the bad guy so quickly, especially when she's been there the whole time and seen how he's always been treated by the media. So I think that Drew Barrymore would have done better to wait and see some actual proof besides whatever Evan's spilling. And if watching her body language and stuff in a lot of these videos, she can't even make eye contact with people, and the constant, like, the rubbing of the face, that's like one of those signs that like picking, like during an interview doing this stuff is like a comforting thing. A lot of times, if you watch like some true crime stuff, they actually say a lot of times that people do that kind of stuff to comfort themselves um, when they're trying to tell a lie or try to say they're innocent or whatever. And she gives off all the classic examples. And she has always sort of taken on whatever um, identity of whoever she's in a relationship with. Like if you go back, if you look at every person that she's been in a relationship with, that there's pictures in the media of her with that person, every time she completely changes her identity to match that person or to match whatever they find attractive. But it looks like more or less she tries to be literally them. It's really disturbing, actually. It's like she has no ability to think for herself and be her own true self. And I think also she's been afraid that pictures of her uh, doing Nazi salutes and stuff, because she took uh, the, the way that Marilyn Manson would use sort of the militaristic um, parts of the Nazi movement. He used it to animate it his own. He didn't have any hate or um, any of the bad stuff, like no swastika or anything like that. He never did. He used the militaristic, their ability to take strike fear and power into people by using symbology. Like, he'd replace it with his shock logo and like the podium thing and all that stuff that you do on stage, and as he's turning out pages of Bible and all this. And just, she took like that stuff way too far. And I think it was in her own rebellion against being 19 and dating Manson, who was the bad guy of rock and roll and all this. Like, I think she took the whole Nazi thing literally when he didn't, but she was taking it literally to retaliate against her parents, who were Jewish, and I think she was just taking it the wrong way. Like, she shouldn't have taken it that way. She could have used Manson's way of invoking the scare tactic of those regime without embracing the hate and the bad stuff. And she could use the power without the hate, but she didn't. She took it literally, and like hearing that she would, like Nazi salute during Manson songs and stuff. Like, Manson didn't even do that. I have seen Manson like 8 or 9 times, and not once did I ever see him do that. It just rubs me so the wrong way, and it's nice to see her getting some comeuppance, because she deserves a whole lot more. And it pisses me off that the whole FBI letter got thrown out, especially when she used that in her own attempts to keep her son. Like, she filed that fake letter, and that's how it was. One of the ways that was brought out that it wasn't real was Jamie Bell, I believe, called the number or whatever. But it's turned out that the FBI person is real. They used a real name of an FBI agent, but she has said straight up that she never wrote that letter and that there's no investigation of him. So it's ridiculous. And the fact that they got him swatted, and like, swatting is a really bad thing, and to swat somebody, it's like they were hoping for worse things to happen, and that's what it feels like to me anyways. Like, she was hoping worse things would actually happen, and she could be like, see, he was a bad guy all along. No, he wasn't. You were the bad guy. You are the bad guy, not him. So it really chaps my hide. But it's nice to see her finally getting some comeuppance, and I can't wait to see more of it, because I feel like that's just showing that she's lost custody of her own kid. It has nothing to do with Manson. It shows that her head is screwed up and she has no right raising a child. And I'm thankful for that boy to get out of her direct influence that way. And I hope that things are much better for him with his father. And I would really wish that I could see Manson restored to American Gods, and to Creepshow, which he was supposed to be in before she called him as her abuser. This makes me so mad. Take that away from him. He was, I was really proud of his acting career. He'd been showing up in so many things that I loved. Like, I love Sons of Anarchy, and it was really weird. It was before I knew who was going to be on that show. I'll take t-shirts and I make little like butt flaps basically out of them, like a front and a back on around my waist. And I was wearing a Sons of Anarchy t-shirt and a Marilyn Manson t-shirt together before he was even cast. Like, I knew he was even cast on that show. But like weird little things like that, I've always been into. Like American Gods, I didn't know he was going to be in that until right before all that stuff started happening, and then he got removed from it, which really pissed me off, because I've been a big fan of well, I've always loved the author, but Neil Gaiman. But the fact that he got removed from the scenes in that, I really hope that once all this stuff is finally done and he's cleared, because it's the right thing to happen, I really hope he's restored to that stuff. I'm bummed also that he wasn't able to schedule time to be in The Stand, because I love Stephen King, and I would have loved to have seen him in The Stand. But then they decided when he couldn't, when his schedule conflicted with him being able to film the role of the kid in that, they removed the character, which is a bummer, because I had been looking forward to that too. And although I didn't know that he wasn't actually still going to be in that, I was looking forward to all that stuff. It was, like I said, there's always weird little coincidences have always lined up with me and him, even down to the fact that the guy I date, his birthday is the same day as Marilyn Manson's. It's just weird. There's weird stuff like that always kind of happens. I have a lot of really weird coincidences with him. It's just a little bit on the very many that I could spend all day telling you the stories. Anyways, yeah, I hope for more of her BS to come out and for people to see her true character. And for Manson to, I'm glad that he's gonna start releasing music again, and he can do it on his own. He doesn't need a record label. He's Marilyn Manson, and he's got people like me that know his true character and will always back him and support him and love him. So can't wait to see what else he does, and can't wait to see Evan go down.